Absolutely wild rumors are circulating that this Friday, July 27th, at the annual Bitcoin conference, Donald Trump is going to announce a plan to make Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset for the federal government. What's going on, guys? It's CryptoDave here at Top Tier Signals, and today I want to dive into a new narrative forming within crypto that I think is going to play a huge role over the coming 6 months as we head into the end of 2024. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. So first I want to dive into the daily chart for Bitcoin, and I just want you guys to notice here over the last 11 days just how many events we have had related to Donald Trump and the United States election. As we all know, on July 13th at a rally in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump was nearly assassinated, boosting his election victory odds to nearly 72% on prediction markets such as Polymarket within just a matter of a couple of days. The same day as the shooting, we had an official endorsement from Elon Musk, who is a huge personality within the crypto space, giving Donald Trump his full endorsement for the 2024 election. 3 days after this, it was announced that Donald Trump would be holding a private fundraiser, which would cost over $800,000 for a seat to be held at this year's annual Bitcoin conference. And now, just in the past couple of days, Joe Biden has officially dropped out of the presidential race, and we are getting wild rumors circulating that Donald Trump plans to announce Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset at this year's annual Bitcoin conference. All of these events have culminated a brand new narrative that is now deviated from our former narrative and sending price as much as 27% higher from its current lows, down around $53,000. So the narrative that we've largely seen throughout the month of June was the German government selling Bitcoin, as well as all the Mt. Gox Bitcoin that has been locked up for some time, finally coming back to its creditors and potentially coming back to the market. Markets reacted to this narrative just as you would expect, driving price downward towards our range lows here around $60,000. Now, as a lot of folks looked to buy support levels, go long, use leverage to do so, we saw a huge flush to the downside, liquidating all of those leverage longs, capturing those stop losses before deviating back into the range. And we can see here by this green circle, this was the day that Mt. Gox actually started its distributions. So the narrative front ran the event, and by the time we actually saw Mt. Gox begin to distribute its Bitcoin, we had captured a lot of liquidity below a key level of support, and we have since rebounded back into our range. So this leads us now to our new narrative, which is based on two key assumptions. Number one is that Donald Trump is very likely going to win the presidency in 2024, and number two is that a Donald Trump presidency would be a crypto-friendly, specifically a Bitcoin-friendly presidency. So in order to understand how this narrative is going to shape markets, it's important to hold on to those two key assumptions, as well as the factors that could affect Trump's likelihood to win, as well as just how crypto-friendly his presidency would be. Just take a look here at this candle here that we have on July 21st, the day that Joe Biden announced that he would be officially dropping out of the presidential race. Price originally responded by dropping downwards, as most believed that Donald Trump would have a better chance of beating Joe Biden than any other presidential candidate. However, markets quickly bought this dip up, sending price forward and reinforcing the fact that Donald Trump is still going to be the likely victor in November, regardless of who that candidate is. And this is the first main thing to be aware of with this narrative. Whether it's Kamala Harris, Michelle Obama, or some other Democratic nominee, we have to be mindful of how these decisions and how the rest of this election process affects Donald Trump's odds to win the race. And this leads me into the second main consideration of the Trump Bitcoin narrative, which is just how crypto-friendly is a Donald Trump presidency actually going to be. It's very clear in the past couple of years that Donald Trump has changed his tune on Bitcoin, personally finding it interesting, a good opportunity, and potentially giving crypto in the broader space his support. But just how far will this go? We already know that Donald Trump is going to be a headline speaker at the annual Bitcoin conference on July 27th, and we also know that he is holding a private fundraiser with a very expensive ticket, so there's likely going to be some pretty important folks in there showing their support for Donald Trump at the Bitcoin conference. But this is what I want to turn your attention to. This crazy and almost dangerous rumor that Donald Trump is going to share a strategy to have Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. It's important to take something like this for exactly what it is, which is simply a rumor. We don't really know what Donald Trump is going to say at the conference, if he's going to announce something like that, if he actually gets elected, what would the process look like to actually make Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. Of course, that would be insanely bullish for both Bitcoin and the broader crypto space. However, it's simply a rumor. and we don't know whether or not Donald Trump has any plans along those lines or what he is going to say. So the second thing that you guys need to pay attention to when it comes to this narrative are the actual words, rhetoric, and conversation surrounding Bitcoin when it comes to Donald Trump. Is this going to be a big factor in presidential debates? Is this going to be a talking point that he can give big speeches on and talk to a large audience about? Or is it going to lack media coverage? We're going to find out the answers to this rumor on July 27th. And there's two important things to remember about this narrative, as it is going to be a very prominent narrative throughout the end of the year. And that is, number one, what is going to affect Donald Trump's likelihood at victory, which is what the market wants. And number two, what does Donald Trump actually plan to do as president with relation to Bitcoin and the broader crypto space? Keep those two things in mind as we watch this narrative. I promise you it's going to be a huge difference maker. So enough politics aside, let's jump into the chart and get a look at things from a more technical perspective, starting here with the monthly time frame on the Bitcoin Liquid Index, ticker BLX. And guys, this is a really great chart to use because it shows you all of Bitcoin's trading history, and it comprises price data across a plethora of different exchanges to sort of give you a true or average price for Bitcoin updated every day. But anyhow, the main thing I want you guys to notice here is this $60,000 level, this range that I've highlighted across the screen here. We can see very clearly that with our two separate peaks that we had in the previous cycle back in 2021, once in April, once again later that year in November, this $60,000 level was very significant on the monthly time frame. There was a ton of optimism, euphoria, overexuberance, and ultimately just too much money in the space, and late buyers and leverage longs getting trapped above this region as it ultimately acted as resistance before we moved downward. Fast forward to 2024, and now things are just a little bit different. We can see here that upon testing this range, we broke it very strongly to the upside, and for 4 months after the fact, we have come back down into this range. We have seen buyers come in, scoop up the discounts, and drive price higher, with each monthly candle closing within this range or above. Now, something to note is that there's about another week and a half left in July, so this can still go either way. We're waiting for this candle to finish forming, but what would be extremely bullish to see here is if this month could close above the previous 2 months here. Or, better yet, if we could see a close above our current all-time high. These would be two very bullish indications that Bitcoin is ready for another round of price discovery. So I want you guys to keep that $60,000 level in mind on the monthly time frame. It's very key that we see our monthly candles continue to close and hold above this range. Moving over to the daily time frame, we can see this range just a little bit clearer here. This is the past 4.5 months essentially of our trading history being confined by this range here, except for this minor deviation that we had just a couple of weeks ago. So price has rebounded very strongly. It's setting in higher highs and higher lows, and we're trading well within our trading range that we had just deviated below a couple of weeks beforehand. Things are looking very bullish. But what do we need to see in order to stay confident and ultimately to break out of this range? Well, the first thing I'll turn your attention to here is this 21 and 50 exponential moving average cloud. This is a very important indicator. I use it on the daily time frame for a lot of assets. I truly recommend it. It is a great indicator to show the overall direction of the market, the strength of the trend, and where we might find potential support and resistance opportunities. Even taking a look back at our 2022 bear market, we saw our shorter term moving average cross below the longer term moving average, and after price fell below the cloud, we saw this cloud ultimately back tested and acting as resistance despite a few minor deviations throughout the entirety of our 2022 bear market before things changed course. After we stuck in an initial bottom and reversed our trend, we saw this cloud come in as a point of support at plenty of different times here in the market as things were consolidating, and then as we kicked off the rally, we saw some minor deviations, but ultimately this cloud acted as support, and more importantly, the 21 EMA was remaining above the 50 EMA. Taking a look at our chart here, we can see that the 21 EMA is just now crossing over the 50 EMA, which is historically a very bullish thing, but we're going to want to make sure that when we retest this cloud, that it's going to act as support. Bitcoin is currently falling back from its recent peak of around 68.3 thousand, and this very well could be a landing spot before buyers hopefully come in and scoop up more Bitcoin and outpace sellers, sending the price into range highs. Another level to make note of here is this midpoint of the range, sort of around $65.6 thousand, give or take. We are currently testing this level right now, and this would be an excellent place to see a bid, to see that continued strength, to see buyers coming in and saying, no, we're not going to let people bid range lows. We're not going to let people bid the moving averages. We are going to take these small dips, we're going to eat them up, and we're going to keep that follow through so that price can really accelerate. That is the main thing that we are looking at here. We've had a very strong move back into this trading range. We are seeing the momentum flip bullish on several time frames. Now it's simply a matter of holding that bullish market structure and seeing buyers willing to pay a slight premium every single dip. But more than anything else, we know that so long as we are defined by a trading range, then that's exactly what we're going to see. We're going to see choppy price action. We're going to see different ranges. We're going to see traders getting wrecked on both sides of the trade. It's not going to be until we can flip this $72,000 level that we are actually going to see things really start to heat up. So ideally here, if Bitcoin is to make another impulse up to the top of the range, we would see price shoot beyond the range, potentially dip back into the range, and continue higher. We do not want to see this range continue to act as resistance. We need to have that clear, confident breakout, ideally followed by a retest of the range before we can conclude that things are super bullish, just as we can't really conclude that things are super bearish until we see sustained trading below some of these longer term moving averages, as well as the range that we're trading in currently. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this video today. Let me know what you think of all this news coming out about the United States election. What do you think about it? Is Donald Trump the likely victor? Would it be a pro-crypto presidency? And is Bitcoin finally going back to all-time highs? We're going to have to wait and figure that out, but let me know what you think in the comments. And until the next video, I'll catch you guys in the Discord. Peace.